saw her. Daniel, find me the person who had uploaded the picture online and take the picture down as soon as possible. Also, I want that picture gone from the internet within an hour, and whoever denied to take that picture down, make sure to sue them. I will not tolerate it, Austin grunted as he sat on the chair in front of his table, while Daniel quickly nodded to him before leaving the study room. Austin pressed his lips in a thin line. Austin sighed as he rested his head on the glass table. He was fuming with rage, and on top of that, his hangover was killing him. God, why did he even agree to all of this mess? He had no one to blame on to. It was purely his own mistake. He was the one who was eager for the damn sex. He was reckless yesterday, and on top of that, he forgot to wear his damn mask. His shield. With mask, he would have been safe from the media as well as from the damn kiss. With a sigh, he opened his now-charged phone. There were many missed calls from the director of the film. He's shooting with Amelia. He ignored it and began to surf through the social media. He was trending on every application, which wasn't new. He is always trending for one thing or another. Some of his fans were already sending him all the congratulation messages, and some were furious and were saying that he deserves better. Austin agreed to that. He definitely deserves better. Amelia is not on top list of his taste. He mindlessly wondered how Hazel would feel in his arms. He dejected the thought soon after. After a few minutes, Daniel barged into the room. His face was red. Austin knew that look for a long time now. We found who uploaded the picture, Daniel said. His eyes were intense as he clenched his jaw. Austin his brow at him, urging him to say quickly instead of keeping a suspense. The man who uploaded the picture on the internet was set to follow you. In short, stalk you, and capture the moment that was already planned to happen. What do you mean, planned to happen? Austin asked, genuinely confused. He sat straight on the chair, giving Daniel his entire attention. That was a publicity stunt that was planned by Amelia, Daniel said, voice clipped and short. Austin's eyes wide in surprise. What? He clenched his jaw. Amelia had decided to play with fire? How dare she? Are you sure? He asked, cross-checking whether her heard right. Positive, Daniel said with a firm nod on his head. Austin gave him a stern expression. Eyes narrowed as he remained silent for a few moments. Make sure to sue her for that and make it look as if I was forced into the kiss. Also call the producer and tell him to fire her out of the movie. And if he dares to deny then, tell him that I am walking out of the cast. He wouldn't want that to happen, Austin said, his expression deadly that could drag her holes. Amelia had played dirty, and on top of that, she had decided to use Austin to climb up the ladder of success. She had made a biggest mistake. She didn't know that he was the snake that would drag her down no matter how high she had climbed the ladder. No matter how Austin behaves in the public as if he is a complete gentleman, in reality he isn't. He can't be sweet at times, mostly for his grandparents, but he can be restless too. And once he is restless, nothing can save you from him. I can sue her eyes for hiring a man to follow you. That would cost her many dollars actually, Daniel said and smirked at Austin before walking towards him. In his hand was his tablet which was still showing the picture of that kiss. But look here, he showed his tablet straight at Austin's face. Austin almost gone cross-eyed as he stared at the screen. It is clear that you enjoyed the kiss because look at your expression. He teased and Austin narrowed his eyes. Okay, fine, I did. She is a good kisser, I must admit, Austin said with a shrug, but definitely not on my contact list for a booty call. What? Why? I mean, she looks hot, Daniel commented with a teasing smirk playing on his thin pink lips. Don't ask me, please. She is a complete disaster. Worst hook up I ever had, Austin replied honestly. And on top of that, Sex costs too much. I have to handle hungry pants along with my arranged grandparents. He almost whined. Daniel rolled his eyes. You should take care of this. Your scandal has cost too much. Avoid hooking up for a few months. At least, don't you think that God is giving some kind of punishment to you? He asked. Austin rolled his eyes. Daniel is an atheist, so him asking for God is weird, and he knew that Daniel is just kidding. Why are you acting as my grandma? Austin said as he closed his eyes and rested his head against her plush leather set of his chair. His headache is killing him. Oh, please, your grandma was so close to slap on your face. Dickhead. Daniel joked, his cat-like eyes filled with mischief as he remembered how Georgia was scolding his boss. It was hilarious. Austin rarely is nervous or afraid. Austin gave him a dumb look. He hates when Daniel teased him. Whatever, just make sure you release a statement that it wasn't my fault. Put it solely on her, and you know how to work with money for that to happen, Austin ordered. Aren't you being a little too harsh? She has just started her career and you are placing a full stop even before it was started. Daniel said, Amelia just had a debut last year and unlike the product of nepotism, she had achieved her movies with her own hard work. Her acting was always on point. It was unfair to end her career so abruptly. I don't think so. I am being fair. She decided to play with me and you know what happened to one to ones who use me for their own benefit. At least I am being kind to her. Austin smirked at him while Daniel shook his head amused. Stop acting like a wife. Austin stood by his window and looked down at the city with narrowed gaze as if the world owed him. The sky was dark outside, but the rain was blocking the moon. He may look sweet and kind person, but unfortunately he wasn't. He is restless and doesn't care about anyone else. Once you cross his path, then you should start, couldn't your last day on the earth. After what Daniel had told him, he was fuming with rage. He was so naive to crave him and for the woman's charm. He momentarily closed his eyes, regretting the decision he made last night. It wasn't even a good lay, and so now he is facing the consequences of that by facing his angry grandparents. He had been keeping himself locked into the room and answering the calls and replying to the mails. It was already dark outside when he stepped out of the room, grimacing a little at his stiff shoulder. He should probably start doing some exercise. At this rate, he will start losing his six-pack abs. He made his way downstairs. His stomach grumbled instantly as a smell of food reached his nostrils. He hadn't ate anything the entire day. Hazel had called him down to eat lunch, but he had refused to eat. His entire day was extremely busy answering the furious clients. He walked down and let his eyes roam around the place. The bungalow was definitely perfect. It mostly had furniture made of wood, which gave the house a rustic yet comfy look. The lights of kitchen were turned on and he saw Hazel in the kitchen, and red apron tied against her petite waist. Her hair were tied in a messy bun with few strand loose and were panning against her face. She wiped the sweat off her forehead as she stirred something in the pan. By the looks of it, Austin was sure that she is cooking carbonara. She was humming quietly to some song that was blasting in the Bluetooth device. What are you cooking? He asked as he towered over her body, startling her as she gasped and immediately turned around. Her breath hitched when she noticed how close you are. His breath was panning over her face. Austin smirked as he saw the effect he has on the young girl. She backed a little, but she wasn't much space, and so she was caged into Austin's body in the kitchen counter. She placed her hands on the kitchen counter to support her body. Carbonara, she said, almost like a whisper. I thought so, he said and stepped away. I was about to call you for a dinner, she said as she turned off the stove. Austin moved beside her and took the pan in his hands as he brought it to the dining table. Hazel grabbed two plates and forks. Austin took the carbonara and placed it in the plate as he sat in front of Hazel. You caused quite havoc on media, Hazel commented after a complete silence for 15 minutes. Oh really, I didn't know about that, Austin commented, sarcasm dripping in his voice as he stopped a fork full of carbonara. What were you thinking exactly? Going on a public place and kissing your co-star? Aren't you professional? She commented while Austin remained unfazed. I needed some release, okay? Just because I am a celebrity doesn't mean that I can't have what I want. Woman, Austin replied. He was getting annoyed by her stupid question. Can't she just let in it peacefully? I am not saying that you can't, and it's not like you would take my wish into consideration, but your grandparents would start doubting our relationship. You know, if you are in love with me just the way to have been pretending in front of your grandparents, you wouldn't have hooked up with someone else, she commented. Did grandma tell you or ask you something? He asked concern, written all over his face. As he scrunched his brows together, fork posed into the mid-air. She didn't say anything to me, but I felt that she must be thinking that something is not right, Hazel said with a strum. After the whole fiasco Austin has brought up on them, Georgia and Elio had burst into their house, and it was a pleasant sight. Surprisingly, Elio was calm, whereas Georgia wasn't, and Hazel swore that she saw a gaze filled with doubt in her eyes. I will be careful next time, Austin said, as he began to eat his dinner, not caring about his diet. Hazel bit her bottom lips as she tried to word her thoughts. Could you maybe stop these things for a while? Hazel requested. Imagine if these things happen again, we will be in extreme trouble. Georgia and Elio had been sweet to her, and that was something different. She had never felt a motherly affection from anyone. Betraying them makes her heart ache. They are such a sweethearts. I'll think about it, Austin replied, and Hazel rolled her eyes, of course. Austin would always reply something like that as if he possesses power over the other, and it was annoying. Austin turned to the flat, huge television that was placed in the dining room right in front of the dining table. He grabbed the remote and turned on the television. He shifted towards news channel which was still discussing his scandal, but now it showed how Amelia tried to use him to climb up the ladder of success. Hazel too stopped eating as she turned her entire attention to the television, eyes gone wide as she listened carefully to what the reporter were saying. According to the reporter, Amalia was thrown out from the cast of the film which she was filming with Austin. She blinked multiple times before turning towards her husband, who was smirking at the screen, eyes sparkling almost evilly. You did this? She asked carefully, eyes still wide. Austin just gave her a shrug with an infamous smirk that made shiver run down her spine. You kicked her out, she asked again. Yes, that was what she deserved, Austin replied and showed his spot, while enjoying the plot that the reporter was serving by mentioning how bad Amalia is. The news showed that she uses drugs too and is always high with that. But that wasn't true. It was just Austin's doing. You are practically sabotaging her career. Why are you going to that extreme? She asked, suddenly furious at how Amelia was literally being thrown out of her acting career. She decided to fuck around with me. It is enough for me to throw her out of her so-called career, Austin said as he stood up with an empty plate. Hazel too stood up from her place with half-eaten food in the plate. She followed her. Okay, can't you just remove her from the cast? Why are you throwing dirt on her? You shouldn't do that, she said. Austin placed the plate in the washing basin and turned around abruptly. He walked closer to Hazel until the only distance separating them was the plate that Hazel was holding. We married for a reason. I didn't want a nagging wife who wouldn't want me to be me according to her choice. Her voice was stern, and and he clenched his jaw. I married because of my grandparents, and you married because of money. This is purely a professional marriage. Let's keep it that way. So I urge you to stop acting as my real packing wife. He growled at her face, and Hazel backed up and almost whimpered. His eyes were so intense that Hazel found herself trembling a little. He turned back to the sink as if nothing happened to wash away the utensils. He didn't even try to look at the girl. Hazel ran to her room, trying to control her breathing, feeling word. Austin lashed out on her, which wasn't necessary. It's not her first time that someone had insulted her, but whenever someone does this, Hazel can't help but feel helpless and good for nothing. That night's sleep came towards Hazel after quite a long time. With her stricken face with a spot on the pillow, she finally fell asleep. My daughter, the sound of waves washing towards the shore and returning back again, made a soothing back music. A girl with long black hair stood on the seashore for the last 20 minutes. She could listen to the sound of waves for days if she has to. A sigh after sigh leaving her plump lips as she folded her hands on her chest. Where was he? But why is she so surprised? She should have gotten used to this by now. It was his habit after all. She wanted to be a brat and threw a tantrum in front of the entire beach. She's beauty. People could often just stare at her lavish beauty. Her long hair were swaying gently with the wind, almost dancing to the rhythm. She too could feel the gaze on her, but she had long learned time ago to just ignore everyone. A gust of cold wind waved past her and she shivered slightly, regretting not wearing something warm. The weather forecast predicted that the weather will be warm up to 20 degrees Celsius, and Susie was wearing a yellow dress that reached up her knees. But surprisingly, the weather is below 14 degrees Celsius, which is frustrating. Can't the forecast do a right job? She glanced at her wristwatch again. It was 5:30 in the evening. Great! It was now 30 minutes late. A whole 30 minutes late, that's too much. Hazel sighed again as she saw kids play around in the sun. The kids seemed to be siblings. The boy was taller with piercing eyes, not older than 3 years old, and the girl who was playing with him was short with curly hair. She was chubby and also inscrutable. Unknowingly, her mind led her towards her future. Will she have kids by then? Would he want kids? She loved kids. You are late, she muttered without even looking at the person who came running to stand behind her. Her gaze were totally fixed on the seawater. The person just chuckled and gathered her into his arms so that he was back, stroking her, and weak that Hazel she immediately melted in his heart, sighing softly now that she is finally back in her boyfriend's arm. I'm sorry, I miss you, Jack, her boyfriend said, his voice velvety soft, and Hazel immediately forget that she was upset with him. Where were you? Didn't we both agree that we would meet at 5? You are 30 minutes late. She turned to face him, but Jack held her into the tight to grip. She ignored his confession. Sorry, love, my boss kept me a little longer. The cafe was a mess and I had cleaned in all the tables, she said softly, and Hazel felt bad for doubting him. Jack Jones, an art graduate and a dancer, he was talented in every field he wanted to be. He was also known as the IT boy of the college. Maybe that is why Hazel fell head over heels for a senior in her college days. They were inseparable in their college days. People would often find them snapped together somewhere. I miss you too. Hazel sighed, a relief sigh. She had missed him so much. Her life is a mess right now, but it will get better someday. Hazel is sure of it. How is your marriage life going, baby? Jack asked as he kissed her spot where her shoulder and neck met. Hazel almost learned even more on him. Shitty, she said as he remembered all the fiasco that had happened recently. She had walked on the eggshells for days. After Austin had lashed out on her in the kitchen, none of them had bothered to talk to each other every now and then. Austin's grandparents would drop by to say hello, but the gloomy environment in the house told him that Hazel is angry at her husband for cheating, which was helpful. Jack laughed softly. Hazel could feel the vibrations of his laugh. It's infectious. Yeah, I saw that your husband cheated on you just after marrying you for a few days. Just Jack teased, but it didn't settle well with Hazel, and so she turned into his hold back. Jack held her closely by her waist. She glared at him. It was meant to be teasing happening between them, but yet it felt embarrassing to Hazel. We met after weeks, and that is what you want to talk about. Seriously, she asked, annoyed. Austin, her entire life is now filled with that narcissistic jerk who can even talk properly with getting angry. Seeing him almost 24/7 is too much for her, and now that she finally met her boyfriend after God knows how long, he too wanted to talk about her trophy husband too. Jack backed away with an amused smile on his face as he held his hand up as a sign of surrender. His blonde hair was swinging softly as he gave his boyish look. I'm not doing anything. You seem to wake up in the wrong side today, Jack said as he turned their fingers together and began walking. Maybe it's your stomach that is doing all the talking, Hazel huffed, still annoyed but decided not to throw tantrums, at least not in the public place. They both settled in their usual cafe that was right in front of the sea. The entire cafe was made of wood and bicycle was hanging from one of the wall. Another wall was filled with small photo frames that held motivational quotes in them. They loved the place ever since they started dating. It's cozy and it is marvelous. The owner immediately gave them the order. Hazel had chocolate milkshake, whereas Jack ordered pizza and a mocha coffee. Hazel was going to pay for both of them, like always. How, how have you been? Hazel asked, because Jack was so busy these days that he hardly replied to her message, but she understood him. He had his reasons. She missed him so badly. Shitty, he replied using the same words that Hazel had used previously. He was smiling sheepishly at Hazel, who couldn't help but smile at him too. May I ask why? You know how badly I am trying to save money to buy a studio, but I had to pay for the rent as well, plus studying fees. I had to take 3 sides job to make up for the rent, otherwise the landlady would have kicked me out by now. He explained, giving a sad smile to Hazel, who looked at him with sympathy in her eyes. You should have talked to me about this. You know that I am here just for you. Whatever I am doing is just for you, Hazel said, her voice lacing with worry. She was failing. Jack was an excellent dancer and artist, but unfortunately, he was orphaned just like her, and so it was hard to survive in this world. Jack had wanted to be a choreographer since the very beginning, and so he was doing all he can to buy a studio, but he couldn't afford it. The girl came back with their orders, and Hazel smiled at her gently. I know, sweetheart, but I can't just always depend on you. I have to do something of my own, he said as he sipped his coffee. You are already doing too much for me. Hazel moved toward and placed her petite hand on his larger own. I am doing all of this for you, for me, for us, she said, her voice as sweet as honey, her eyes wide, and her beautiful red lips were spread wide into a smile. Jack smiled back at her while nodding his smile, never fading away. For us, he repeated. What's wrong with you? After eating, Hazel paid the bill, and now both of them were walking on the beach, fingers interlinked together as they walked around the beach. Kids were playing around, couples were enjoying the dates together. The sun is about to set. The sky is painted with wonderful color shading of pink, orange, and even purple. Hazel diverted her gaze towards the sky. She loves sunset and sunrise. It implies ending and starting. Everything goes and nothing stays. Even though she is with her boyfriend right now, she can't help but think about how Austin talked to her few days back. He was so harsh, but sometimes he's so sweet too. He confuses her two bonds. Was he a bipolar person? Does he have some mental problems? What are you thinking? The hand-like voice of Jack pulled her away from her trance, and she immediately turned to look at her boyfriend. He's beautiful, unlike her black hair. His hair is blonde. His green eyes were piercing into hers. She swore that she could drawn into them. She loved him so much. I can tell that you are currently thinking about something very loudly in your head. Austin, she replied honestly and looked straight ahead. He has been on her mind for days, but not for the good reasons. Amusement spread on Jack's face as he let a dry chuckle, almost stunting her blonde hair swayed with the wind. Already into your lover, boy? He taunted Hazelton to look at him, thinking that he is joking, but his intense gaze and clenched jaw told her that his impact wasn't due. What the hell? He is not my lover, boy. What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped at him. Now it was her who was staring at him with intense gaze. She stepped away from him. Nothing's wrong with me, but I can't say the same about you. You have been distant since we got here. What is wrong with you? He commented, skull on his face, and Hazel scoffed as she snatched her hand away from Jack. He is teasing her patience now. Nothing's wrong with me, but my life is missed because of you, she stormed her body towards him. She could feel anger rushing into her body. She was breathing heavily as if she had run a marathon. It was your idea about me marrying Austin, and I agreed to it. Now you are questioning me and calling Austin my lover boy? Seriously? I accepted this marriage because you wanted me to? She shouted, but thankfully there were not many people around him at the moment. Her chest was rising and falling rapidly. Her entire face was red. Anger plus on the Jack's face too. He felt insulted. This was the conversation that they had had before. Really? If I remember correctly, you seemed to accept the proposal instantly. He taunted his arms, now folded on his chest, as he continued to glare at his Hazel. That is because you wanted me to get married to Austin, and I just wanted to help you, she replied, her nostril flaring at its words. Silence stretched between them like a carpet as they both just kept looking at each other. Hazel's eyes were intense and narrow. Jack had a neutral expression, but it soon turned into a sad expression. He sighed loudly. Do you think that I love sending you to other men's place? No, I don't. But you know, right, that whatever you are doing for both of us, for our future, Jack said, sounding sad and dejected. The look on his face made Hazel regret whatever she had said before. She hates it when Jack is upset. He just loves him too much. Jack, I am sorry. I shouldn't have said it like that, she said, voice sad, and she spoke. She knew how Jack hates using her money, but that is what it is. They have been together since their college days. They were typically never apart from each other. After years of dating, they're still going strong, but life happens. Jack wants to open a dance studio and start his own choreography classes, and for that, he takes multiple jobs each day to max the living. But of course, that weren't enough, and so Hazel volunteered herself to help him achieve his dreams. It was sad to see his struggle too much. Apparently, Jack made her take a shortcut to the success and made her attend blind dates. She agreed to it, thinking that this arrangement will end soon, but has been 4 months since then. The arrangement was weird, but if they want money fast and quick, they have to take this step, according to Jack. Hazel would sweet talk with her dates and perfectly portray an image of sweet, innocent girl, which she wasn't. Boy, are you idiots? 2 words of sweetness and they will fall in love with you immediately. It was quite amazing. Once she gains their trust, she would ask them money and they would be bold enough to give him whatever she wants. No one can resist her cute angelic face, and just like that, she plays as far as she can with the help Jack. Hazel had no idea that she will meet Austin Roberts as her blind date. She was beyond shocked and she was almost dead when she proposed her. That wasn't what she had expected, but it was as if they had hidden a jacket pot. Jack was beyond happy with his girlfriend marrying other man, but it was okay. Hazel loves him too much to think about anything else. She was blinded by her love for him. You should go home, Jack replied as he stepped away from Hazel's eyes and had sad and lost. Hazel regretted saying whatever she said earlier. Before she could say anything, Jack turned around and left her alone on the bench. She sighed deeply as she watched his retreating figure with longing eyes. They had met after so long. Shouldn't have said something like that. She knew Jack loved her. She just knew. With heavy heart, she made her way towards Austin's home. You are a stranger, but you are my wife. Devastated and tired, Hazel walked in the bungalow. She had taken bus to come back home because apparently she didn't have enough money to hire a taxi. The lights were turned on and she furrowed her brows. She clearly remembered that she had switched off all the lights before walking out. Voicelessly, she walked further, trying to keep calm. If someone had broke into the house, she didn't know what to do exactly. Austin was supposed to come later tonight because apparently his shooting runs late. He always comes home late. The heater were turned off and a chill ran down her spine. She hugged her body, trying to keep the cold wind at bay. Amazing smell of food being cooked made her steps eager. He walked toward the kitchen and there stood Austin, his black hair a mess on the top of his head. He was wearing a sweatshirt and pants. Simple yet he looked beautiful. You came early today. I thought you would come late as always, she commented. This was her first time talking to him after she had snapped at her a few days ago. Though she was still afraid to face him, but can't she forever ignore him? Austin looked up from his gaze in the pan. His eyes widened up as if he just noticed the girl standing in front of him. Oh, my shooting ended earlier and I thought that it's a great opportunity to cook, he answered sheepishly. Hazel to found herself smiling at him. Guilt was killing her, but she decided to keep it at bay. That's good, she said with a smile. Why don't you person up still make the dinner? He asked at her stir the food, gaze falling to the pan and back to his wife's beautiful face. Okay, she said and walked upstairs. She don't know what has gotten into Austin for him to talk so sweetly at him. She quickly took a shower to calm her mind. Her earlier argument with Jack was still fresh in her mind. She loved him, she really did, but sometimes it felt as if he was just using her. The thought was ridiculous even for her. Jack won't do anything like that to her. She knew it but mind kind of play dirty tricks on you. She quickly got dressed into her pajama and made her way downstairs. She saw Austin placing the plates on the dining table. His apron was not on his body anymore. Come, eat, he urged softly, and Hazel walked towards the table and sat opposite to Austin. Her stomach growled loudly and Austin laughed. Seems like you are hungry, he said, voice soft and wasn't holding any insulting tones. Hazel turned into a darker shade of bread. Haven't ate anything since lunch, she replied, and Austin nodded. Even with Jack, she just drank a glass of shake. She took a bite of rice. You are really amazing cook, she commented, because truly Austin cooking is amazing, which was new because according to society, boys don't usually cook. It's my hobby. As a child, I used to love helping in the kitchen. Even when I grew up, I tend to cook by my own, he said in between bites. Hazel nodded in understanding. Is that why you don't have a maid or a butler to help you, she asked. Partially, yes, and I also because I hate to keep stranger in my home, he replied truthfully. I am a stranger too, and yet I live with you in your house, she corrected with a brew. You are a stranger, yes, but you are also my wife, so this house is technically Your house too, he said with a shrug of his shoulder. Temporary, Hazel said with a nod. Yes, temporary, as none of us want to stay in this marriage forever, but I don't want to stay in this marriage with us being a complete stranger, he added and glanced at Hazel, who was looking at him with confused gaze. What do you mean? She asked. I want us to know each other more, he said casually. We're going to be married for at least 3 years. It would be awkward for us to not know each other, even as roommates. That's true. Even if they are not really married for love yet, they are indeed married. They don't necessarily talk to each other more than exchanging formalities. And when they pass each other in the house, they avoid the other's gaze as much as they can. The relationship is not even beyond roommates. And I'm sorry. Austin's sweet voice brought Hazel back to earth. She turned to look at him, who was now looking in his place. I shouldn't have snapped on you her other day. I know what I did was wrong, and I put you in the awkward position with my grandparents, he apologized. And Hazel can't seem to believe it. Austin Roberts is apologizing to her? Unbelievable. Her finally looked at her, his intense and intimidating eyes were now soft, and he looked like a loose puppy who don't know his way back home. I am bad at apologizing, he said as Hazel chuckled. It's okay, I'm used to it, Hazel replied without thinking, but Austin heard her loud and clear. He was looking at her with confusion on her face. What do you mean by I am using to it? He asked. His voice came out harsher than expected, and Hazel blinched. People usually don't apologize to me. They snap, insult me, and then leave it like that. So I am quite surprised that you bothered to apologize to me. Hazel clarified with a sad smiling playing on her face. Austin felt a pain in his chest. No one deserved to be treated like that, Hazel, he said, chucking himself along with Hazel. Thank you. Let's go out on a dinner tomorrow, Austin said as he got up from his chair with his empty plate. He walked towards the sink and placed and soon began to rinse the plate. Is that your proposal for a date? Hazel asked, voice light and teasing as she walked towards the sink as well. Austin chuckled and took the plate from Hazel's hand and began to rinse it too. They were standing side by side, shoulder touching the other's. Hazel chuckled too. If that's what my wife wants, then yes, it is a date, Austin said. Hazel smiled at him sweetly as she took the sponge from her hand and began to rinse the utensil. Austin sat on the sofa watching some sport while Hazel came to join him. Who would have thought that Austin can be friendly too? She wasn't really paying attention to what was playing on television. It's acting more like a background sound. Hazel was conflicted with herself. Her previous fiasco with Jack is still fresh in her mind, and it's unsettling. Jack has a habit of making others feel guilty for something they haven't done. Hazel had felt guilty for snapping at him before, but what can she do? She is the one who is handled into this mess. She agreed to everything just because Jack requested her to do so, but it feels as if he really doesn't care anymore. She feels guilty all the time because she is deceiving everyone. Austin isn't a bad person. Sure, he acts as a complete whole, but still, he's a good person. And using his money that he had worked so hard to fell through. The only reason why she is married to Austin is because originally she just wants to take as much of his money as possible. Leo and Georgia are very sweet and generous people Hazel had ever met. She hasn't met any genuine people who would talk to her sweetly. Roberts are sweetest family she had ever met. She's betraying them all. I have instructed Daniel to open separate bank account for you so that I can transfer your monthly allowance into that account. That way it will be more efficient for you to use money according to your need, Austin said as he switched from channel to channel. Hazel turned to look at him. Okay, Hazel said. She was already thinking about asking Austin about money but was too nervous to ask her husband. Also, I have early morning shooting tomorrow, so won't be home until tomorrow night. So be ready at 8 tomorrow night, he instructed as he turned off the television and stood up. Good night, he said, voice clipped, but yet he offered a smile, and Hazel can't help but reply him with her own smile. Good night.